Hi, my name is Alex. I'm an occupational environmental medicine resident physician, as well as a student at the Master of Public Health program at the University of Texas Health Science Center at Tyler. Today I'm going to talk to you all a little bit about boating safety. One of my research projects for my master's program this year actually involves working with the commercial fishermen in the Gulf of Mexico and the dangers of falling overboard, so it's only fitting I'll talk about this particular subject. I grew up in Houston, and being so close to Galveston, we do a fair share of boating ourselves, whether it be kayaking, fishing, crabbing, tubing, wakeboarding, or just hanging out on a boat, having a beer. Everything's just a little bit more fun on a boat. Although boats can be a lot of fun, they can also be pretty dangerous. While working on my research project, I learned that commercial fishing is the second most dangerous civilian occupation, and it's mostly due to boating accidents and falling overboard. Although most of you listening are probably not commercial fishermen, you can run into similar issues with recreational boats as well. The U.S. Coast Guard actually keeps track of all the boating accidents in the country, and the numbers can be kind of surprising. The U.S. Coast Guard reported 650 deaths from boating accidents in 2019. 439, or about 2/3 of them, were due to drowning. And out of those 439 who drowned, more than 80% of them were not wearing a life jacket. That's just too easy to put on a life jacket and prevent a good chunk of those deaths. I know just having the life jacket under the seat is good enough to not get a ticket, but they're pretty useless under there if you can't get to them. I myself have been on a fishing trip where our boat met some choppy water and nearly capsized, and thinking back, it was pretty careless of me not to wear a life jacket, and being under the seats, I couldn't get to them if we were to capsize. And there would be no way for me to dive under the boat after it's capsized to retrieve those. Since we're on the topic of capsizing boats, that's another thing to be wary of, is your boat's capacity. Make sure you do not exceed your boat's capacity, because this is a good way to increase your risk of capsize. Not only could it save your life, but it could also save that boat. Now, Texas Parks and Wildlife requires anyone born after September 1st, 1993 to take a boater education course. This obviously doesn't apply to me, as I was born in 1990. However, it probably isn't a terrible idea to know the rules of the road of the water. Just like you know what you're supposed to do when you pass someone up on the road, there are rules for overtaking another boat. There are other situations, such as when boats are crossing paths or meeting head-on. Do you know which boat is supposed to yield to the other, or which direction you're supposed to turn to avoid collision? With collisions being the leading cause of injury, there is no reason we should not all take a boat education course, or at least review the online materials so we know what to do in these different situations. One other thing that is sometimes overlooked on a boat is the risk of carbon monoxide poisoning. We all know how you're never supposed to have your car running with the garage door closed, but we don't always think about the risk of carbon monoxide poisoning when operating a gas-powered boat. Never block an exhaust, as this can lead to buildup of carbon monoxide in the cabin. Always make sure you're not swimming near the exhaust, or better yet, just shut off the engine if you decide to take a dip by the boat. And always beware of other boats nearby, and stay at least 20 feet away from another boat if they have their engine on. It's always a good idea to also know the symptoms of carbon monoxide poisoning. The most common symptoms involve headache, dizziness, weakness, nausea, vomiting, chest pain, and confusion. If you inhale too much carbon monoxide, it can cause you to lose consciousness, fall overboard, and ultimately drown. And at very high levels of exposure, it can kill you without drowning you in the first place. The last thing I will leave you with involves alcohol. I'm not gonna lie, I really do enjoy a cold, crisp beer on the boat in the middle of the water on a hot summer day, but really it's pretty dangerous to drink and boat. According to the U.S. Coast Guard data, when primary cause of boating death is known, alcohol is usually the leading factor. The solution is easy though. I'm not saying you shouldn't ever drink on a boat, but just like you have a designated driver when you hit the bars, you should have a designated boater when you hit the water. And definitely wear the life jacket because of that added risk of drowning. At least if you're intoxicated in a parked car, you probably can't drown. But if you're intoxicated in an anchored boat surrounded by water, there's still a risk of falling overboard and drowning. Just remember to wear that life jacket and have a designated driver when you're going to drink on a boat. Otherwise, have fun out there. I know I will be.